Hello, TikTok, YouTube. Just some real quick Cheez-It Bowl thoughts. Fortunately, my dad put it best when on the phone when he said, "I'm really glad I don't have to watch this team again." And we got talking, and he told me this real long story about how Bobby Knight, when he was asked after his team won an NIT quarterfinal. What his thoughts on the T word. He said he was very. Bobby Knight actually said of his own team after a win, "I'm really glad I only have to see this team two more times." So it was like, yeah, uh, uh, putting it in the paper, you're expecting to win the semifinal, and yet at the same time dogging your team at the same time. Kind of hilarious, and kind of mirrors the story of the season as a whole. We showed a lot of great promise, a lot of great potential at times, but had just enough go wrong for us to lose, which was the story of a lot of OU's losses this season. So, I mean, uh, Venables is the guy. We just have to give him some time, give him a chance to prove us right on the recruiting trail and such. Another thing Dad said that unfortunately kind of stings and fits is he thought the thing that was most annoying too is it seems like we usually get out coached at halftime on the halftime adjustments, which some of that's got to be Venables, but at the same time, how many of his assistant coaches are guys he actually wanted? How many guys did he actually get? Building a staff's always a work in progress, and not to mention he was working with only players, for the most part, only players he didn't recruit. They got a really good recruiting class coming in. He's got a really good chance to really work things to our advantage in the transfer portal. So let's give Venables his time, see how things go. Feel like we can get there. Can we get all the way to the playoff in year two? Might be asking a lot, but it still can't happen. We've gone from being 6-time defending Big 12 champions to, kind of falling off the cliff and being rebuilding here. But also think about it. The Big 12 is a parity league now. After winning 6 times in a row, we've had 4 different teams in the Big 12 title game in these 2 years we've been absent. Baylor thankfully beating Stillwater by 1 yard to knock them out of the CFP, followed by TCU beating Kansas State this year. What's going to be next year? Is it going to be, if I could literally pick the two teams, it'd be us beating Cincinnati just because I've got Johnny Bench reasons for liking Cincinnati, I guess. Dad being from Caddo County and all, a few miles away from Binger, so Johnny Bench's hometown. So, in a perfect world. And the onus and the pressure is going to be on them to try to make a really strong effort and win that Big 12 title again to hopefully exit the Big 12 on a high, because, feels very likely that this might be the last year that things might get arranged for us to join the SEC in 2024. It's not official. Obviously it's still 2025 at this point, but it's sort of, there are certain things lining up in the potential TV contracts and all that to make it seem like 24 might be the way, might end up being the dealio here. So we'll see. Main thing is I just hope they grow into a better team that competes, fights harder, and wins more often. Obviously, that's everybody's goal, but I feel like with the recruiting class and the players we'll get from the portal, and Venables having already got through a year of the struggle and implementing his work. I feel like we should be competing for at the very least the Big 12 next year. Now the question is will it be the 12-team college football playoff or not? I mean, thankfully they're trying to change that as quick as possible, but that's probably not going to go into effect till 24. So next year is probably the last year of this 4-team CFP, hopefully. So, I mean, main thing is win the Big 12, and then if we can manage to win the Big 12 again, anything beyond that would be gravy anyway. I mean, so yeah, I mean, disappointing end to a frustrating season, but we competed with Florida State a lot better than a lot of people thought we would. We pushed them to the brink. And it's not like Florida State had missing pieces. I mean, they didn't have anybody. They didn't have anybody skip the bowl game, surprisingly. And I mean, whereas we had Eric Gray and a couple tackles skip the bowl game. So, frustrating thing is Dylan Gabriel hasn't committed to staying yet. But at the same time, we also have like the number one quarterback recruit from the class of 2023. So, the way things are going these days, might be better to be playing the freshmen anyways, so, or whoever wins the competition, because we also had a redshirt freshman that people were annoyed that we didn't play this year. So, Gabriel was hurt, obviously. I mean, sticking with Darrell Bevel, the entire OU Texas game is probably the biggest coaching decision that I didn't agree with Venables with all year. I mean, that was really stupid, sticking with that Pitt transfer failure. The entire Texas game was a real waste. So, but what's done is done. Move on to softball season, I guess, basically, since OU basketball. Don't get me started on OU basketball. That could be an entirely separate TikTok of its own, talking about a dad telling me about the damn 88 team that managed to beat Kansas twice just to, or was it even thrice? Maybe even beat Kansas 3 times, either 2 or 3 times, and then not be able to beat Kansas when it actually mattered in the national title game. So, lovely. Who was the star of that team? Mookie Blaylock. Anyways, obviously the good OU team I sort of grew up with was the 02 Final Four OU basketball team, and in more recent times we've had Buddy Hield get them to that level. Trae Young tease that level a little bit. I mean, unfortunately, the ages just didn't quite line up. I mean, if Buddy Hield had been redshirted and actually stayed for a 5th season, which getting him to stay for 4 was already a miracle, but if you got a 5th season out of Buddy Hield as a redshirt season, it would have been Trae Young's freshman year, but, Yeah. And unfortunately, the women's basketball team has been on a downward trend too ever since the Paris sisters left. But what are you going to do? I mean, go win some gymnastics national titles, I guess. Win some softball national titles and get ready for football season, basically. If I actually did get to live in Norman, I'd be closer on the pulse of everything else too. But fortunately, I'm a Norman kid that's never actually got to live in Norman, basically, because we left when my dad joined the military, and I just never got to go back, because after Germany, I got stuck in Guyman, and then, this, that, and the other. Currently live in Amarillo with a Louisiana wife, so. But yeah, that's the quick OU Cheeze-It Bowl thoughts. Talk to you later, YouTube, TikTok.